Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
Thursday, October 2nd. Glad you're here with us. It is SportsIQ. Larry Smith, producer Tony, editor Josh, bringing you another hour of power right here from our studio, our state-of-the-art digital, virtual studio, because as you know, we're not in the same place. We're all over the place. But it doesn't matter. We come together for this hour of goodness every day, Monday through Friday. Coming up, we've got Peter Holland talking Florida State. He's out of the Tallahassee, the Democrat down there, and talking about the Florida State Seminoles. Last time we talked with Peter, it was back during week one, ahead of the Seminoles game against Alabama. And boy, how things have changed since then. The forgettable 2024 campaign, but the Seminoles, the big win at home at Doak Campbell over the Crimson Tide, that really has kind of reset things, if you will. They're in Tallahassee. So we'll kind of get a follow-up with him and see how the Seminoles are doing now that they are back in the rankings and among the nation's elite. We'll also hear from Geno Auriemma, UConn's veteran coach, talking about the WNBA officiating rift, that fuse that was lit by Minnesota star player Napheesa Collier, one of his former players. We'll get his take on that as well. Interesting is to hear some of the people overall talking about that, calling for her resignation. There are now some reports she plans to resign from her post once the collective bargaining agreement is done. Some don't think she will make it that far. Because, again, as we mentioned yesterday's show, as producer Tony and I kind of went in depth, you have this thing called the Unrivaled that Collier and her former UConn teammate Breanna Stewart, now with the New York Liberty, that they co-founded and had tremendous success in year one. They expect to do bigger things in year two, the expansion, and in 2027, who knows? Again, they reached out and did another series of investments. About a month ago, they closed that and announced Serena Williams as one of the partners now, the new partners of Unrivaled. By the way, she's also a partner on the WNBA expansion team in Toronto, the Toronto Tempo. She also was invested in that, along with some other entities. But there's something there with Unrivaled that's happening. And so we'll maybe get into that here a bit later on the show if we have time. We want to get to some other big stories. Some college news coming up. Let's start, though, with Major League Baseball. The wild card round of the playoffs continuing on Wednesday. For 3 of the 4 series, a deciding Game 3 will be needed today. But for one team, they have advanced to the divisional round. The defending World Series champion Dodgers becoming the first team to make it to the next round with an 8-4 win over Cincinnati. The Dodgers advancing to their 20th NLDS appearance, 13th in a row in franchise history, and will now face the Phillies beginning Saturday in Philadelphia. The teams last met in the postseason back in 2009 when the Phillies beat the Dodgers in the NLCS for the second straight year. Yoshinobu Yamamoto struck out a postseason high 9 while pitching into the 7th inning. Mookie Betts is starting to heat up as well at the right time. Betts 4 for 5 last night with 3 doubles. All told, LA wrapping out 13 hits. And unlike Game 1, when they hit 5 homers on the way to 10 runs, not a single Dodger left the yard. Of course, in LA, the bullpen is always the story. In 2 1/3 innings work, the Dodger pen gave up 3 walks, 2 hits, and 2 runs to give the Reds some life. A lot like they did in Game 1 as well. That 8th inning when they needed 59 pitches to get out of the inning, and made things interesting all of a sudden in that game. But the bullpen was strong enough, and they hold the lead. Dodgers win that series 2-9, and again, they move on. The other National League series will go the distance. San Diego's Dylan Cease and 3 relievers combining to give the Padres a 3-0 win over the Cubs and force this deciding Game 3 today at Wrigley Field. Manny Machado belting a 2-run homer to provide all the offense the Padres would need. Unlike the Dodgers bullpen, the Padres relievers, they were in full lockdown mode. Andy Morjan, Mason Miller, and Robert Suarez combining to throw 5 1/3 innings of 1-hit ball with 6 strikeouts. Miller and Suarez combining to throw 14 pitches of over 100 miles per hour. They were bringing the gas. So Game 3 tonight, Yu Darvish, the former Cub, taking the hill for San Diego, and Jameson Taillon goes for Chicago. Over in the American League, both of these series also heading to a deciding Game 3. In the Bronx, the Yankees beating their hated rival, the Red Sox, 4-3. Jazz Chisholm Jr., this was a cool play. Zipped all the way around to home from first base on Austin Wells' tie-breaking single in the 8th to break a 3-all tie. The off-malign Yankee bullpen pitching 3 innings of stellar relief. Ben Rice hit an early 2-run homer for the Yankees on the first postseason pitch that he saw. Aaron Judge, an RBI single that went off the glove of diving left fielder Jarren Duran. New York getting 3 innings of scoreless relief from its shaky bullpen after starter Carlos Rodon put the first 3 batters on base, or first 2 batters on base in the 7th. Devin Williams worked a 1-hit 8th for the win. David Bednar getting 3 outs for his first postseason save. Judge pumping his fist when he caught the fly ball on the right field warning track in the 9th inning to end this. And so again, a game 3 in the Bronx today. The other contest in this, Brian Rocchio coming up with another clutch hit in the postseason with the go-ahead homer in the 8th as Cleveland even their AL wildcard series against Detroit with a 6-1 victory. Bo Naylor also going deep in the 8th as the Guardians put up 5 runs to take control of the game. George Valera also homered to force this deciding game in the best-of-3 series. So the winner today faces Seattle in a division series. No team has lost game 1 of a wild card series and advanced since the expanded round began back in 2022. Okay, another big story coming out from Wednesday. We have talked in this space about programs, individual athletic programs looking into potential private equity. There was a story about a year ago, several reports that Florida State was considering private equity coming in, giving them the money they would need to pay the massive buyout to get out of the ACC grant of rights deal with ESPN. There's a massive buyout that's going to diminish every year to the point that 2030 is kind of the year where it may be palatable for teams to pay that penalty to get out if the Big Ten and or SEC have a spot for you. That's the other part of this. Probably why it didn't happen, because there was no place for them to go if they left the ACC, so stick with where you are. Again, Big Ten, SEC making so much more money than the other conferences, and that's only going to increase as we go through this current media rights contract. Well, that was one team possibly doing it, but now there was a report on ESPN that the Big Ten Conference is talking about a $2 billion private capital deal, private equity. Okay. So the deal is that they would extend the Big Ten grant of rights until 2046 to keep these 18 teams in place. Now, I'm just throwing it out here, but Ohio State and Michigan, they're the 2 big brands in the Big Ten, right? So who's to say that they may come out later and say, hey, we want a bigger share of this. We're going to leave and join some Super League, blah, blah, blah. If they do this deal, they can't do that. Okay. So the $2 billion basically would help them. They would be able to give funds, possibly give more money to those big 2, since they're the 2 big brands in football, big brand names, Penn State, Oregon. I know, but it just is what it is for right now. They would then have revenue would be divided by 20. The 18 teams, 18 schools, each would get a share. The Big Ten Conference would get a share. And this private equity company that would loan the money would also get a share. So basically, private equity would be in business with the Big Ten and would profit off what the Big Ten gets. Now, we don't know how this thing is structured, but this is one where, I'm assuming that not only the $1 billion a year they're getting, whatever the case is, it's going to be like $100 million per school. I mean, I'm not sure Washington and Oregon get a little less, but the other 16 are getting, they believe by 2030, will be getting $100 million a year. Well, let's just say that happens. Maybe now they restructure that where you're giving a little bit to this other, instead of the 1.6, 1.8 million, whatever it is, you're giving a little bit less. You get less because you're going to give this other company some. But again, the thing is they're going to, it would ensure, some long-term stability within the conference in this. Just an incredible story. But again, the big thing is they need to have a unanimous vote, unanimous support before they vote. These are sources telling ESPN. And again, some of the biggest brands, including, again, the big 2, are still in discussion here with the league. So this is one of the things that, here's the thing. I get that it is big, 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 big business. And I think my concern over this is that once you open Pandora's box, now everyone could do it. So who's to say the SEC didn't do the same thing? Who's to say the ACC doesn't go through this and give money to try to keep that league afloat. We've all have, everyone has said, look, the three, the Big Ten, SEC, and the Big 12 are pretty much locked in. They're not going anywhere, right? I mean, they seem to have, the Big Ten, SEC, we know what they're doing. The Big 12 has figured things out, getting some very nice programs and some solid teams to round out their play in the Big 12. They seem set. The conference of the Big Four that's the most vulnerable, we all would agree, is the ACC. Since all the coaches have retired and left the game, ACC basketball is not what it has been for the past, 4 decades, right? I mean, the ACC basketball is really suffering. ACC football, we're seeing Miami come on strong now. Obviously, Florida State's back this year. Georgia Tech's having a good season. Clemson is Clemson. So you do have some players there. They're in play. SMU was huge in their first year in the league last year. But the ACC is the most vulnerable. What if the ACC did this as well? And then what's to stop other conferences on a smaller scale? The Mountain West, the American, the Sun Belt. I mean, who knows? So I just think it's a dangerous precedent, and it goes back to where it just feels like, again, the amateurism in college football is slowly being eroded for the sake of money and for the sake of the almighty dollar. It feels like, and I'm going to read this from one story. A league source is telling you, it's the ESPN.com reporting. You can read all of this and definitely go, and you should read all of this as I'm just kind of paraphrasing and giving my thoughts on this. Here's a quote, a league source telling ESPN. They say, think of it this way. The conference is not selling a piece of the conference. Traditional conference functions will remain 100% with the conference office, scheduling, officiating, and championships. The new entity being created would focus on business development, and it would include an outside investor with a small financial stake. So there you go. Tony Petitti, of course, is a Big Ten commissioner, longtime media guy. He was an executive with CBS Sports for years. I got a chance to meet Tony probably about 20 years ago. Great guy, smart guy. But this is kind of where we're headed right now. We saw this with his predecessor, Kevin Warren, before he left to go be president of the Bears there in Chicago, where he put this media deal together, and give him credit for it. He had an NFL background, came into Big Ten, and they became the first conference with 3 contracts with 3 of the alphabet networks at 3 different times on Saturday. So while you can see SEC and Big 12 games, some Big 12 on Fox, some of them on ESPN, the SEC and ACC, ESPN, ABC, it's the Big Ten. That's Fox at noon, CBS 3:30, NBC at night at 7:30. No one's done that before. So the Big Ten started the Big Ten Network under their previous commissioner, Jim Delaney. They've been a groundbreaker in a lot of ways. And this is, again, if they do this, it would, again, break ground. And just like the Big Ten Network and now this deal they have with multiple networks as well for football, it certainly does. It seems like it's going to change the game. So it's interesting. The financial deals still being worked out, but private equity in college sports is closer than you think. It's no longer just an idea. Like, this is actually in the works. And the question is not so much if it'll happen, but when. All right, we've got more to come. The WNBA referee Rift is still on the way. We'll talk more about that. Also, again, Peter Holland of Florida State joins us here in a few minutes, right here on the Sports.
Hey, airline travelers, let's say you have a problem and you need to change or cancel an existing airline reservation. What do? Well, Skywatch is a free service that can help anyone with any airline reservation fix it. Whether you want to cancel it, change your dates, or add passengers, we can help fix your airline reservations so you get exactly what you need. We've updated our computer database and now have access to every airline around the globe. So now you can make one phone call regardless of who booked your airline tickets, and we'll change it, cancel it, and fix it for you. We know the insider secrets to fixing reservations that the airlines don't want you to know about. So if you need to cancel, change, or modify an existing airline reservation, call Skywatch right now. It's a free call, so let us fix it for you. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. That's 800-413-7158.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Did you realize today, October 2nd, is the start of the NBA preseason calendar? Yes. Yeah, the regular season begins a little earlier on October 21st. Usually it's like, Halloween, end of October, 1st of November. No. October 21st, the NBA regular season tips off. But they have a couple of preseason games to start things off today. The Sixers and the Knicks are playing a couple of games. They open camp earlier than everybody else to adjust. They're overseas at Abu Dhabi. They're going to play these first two preseason games. And so that's the first of 65 preseason games, exhibition games that they'll be playing across the league to get ready for the start of the season again, coming up here on October 21st. Hard to believe the NBA is already here. Oklahoma City Thunder looking to defend their first championship since they moved from Seattle to Oklahoma City. But again, something to keep an eye on. Some other news as well that caught our eye. Xavier Howard suddenly retiring from the Colts. He signed back in August after taking off 2024. Four-time Pro Bowler just said his priorities have changed. It's unfortunate because he comes off one of the worst performances of his career. He was trying to stop Puka Nacua of the Rams, and he did not do that. Nacua just torched him for 13 catches, 170 yards, and a touchdown. And the Rams win as the Colts lost their first game of the season. He says he's had a change of heart, and so he is out as a player. Again, four-time Pro Bowler. Howard just had what a great career, and it's over. College football. The title game of the college football playoff for the 2028 has now been set. It is in New Orleans. And in case you're wondering where we're heading, this game moves deeper and deeper into the calendar, right? So the championship game in college football for the 2027 season will not be until January 24th. 2028. So it was where you were kind of getting into the title game would impede, in most cases, the start of the spring semester. Now you were deep into the spring semester. You are just a week away from February. That's how long this thing is going. So I'll be honest, that bothers me. I love the playoff. I'm a proponent of it. You have more teams involved. I thought last year was thrilling. This year it's going to be the same thing. But again, New Orleans will get that. And listen, I love this for New Orleans. After Hurricane Katrina, there was a period of time where, logistically, they couldn't handle major championships. Let's be fair. But there also became a time where, for a while, like they went away to some of these other cities. There is no city better suited to host a major event than New Orleans. It's amazing how they'll just say, you bring how many? 60,000, 70,000? Yeah, we'll be here. Come on. I mean, it's like no big deal for them. So I love to see the fact that New Orleans is back in the mix. The Superdome, once one of the crown jewels in American sports stadiums, is now one of the older venues, but it still is iconic. New Orleans does a great job, so I'm thrilled to see this. By the way, they'll become the third city to host the CFP title game twice. Atlanta did it in 2018 and last year, 2025, or, this season. And then this coming January, it'll be South Florida's second time down there at the Dolphin Stadium. They also hosted there in 2021 as well. So big news there. And again, the question is, by 2028, how many teams will we be talking about? Will it be still 12, 14-team playoff, 16-team? That we don't know, but by the way, we're now within the 60-day window. That decision is due by December 1st, so that we do know. Interesting as well, Vanderbilt, a big game this weekend. We mentioned it's rare. I think only the third time they've been ranked in the top 20 in the AP poll. Big game. They're number 16 right now after the big win. They've had some big wins throughout the season already. They're going to take on number 10 Alabama this week in Tuscaloosa. Big story about their quarterback, Diego Pavia. You may recall that he won a landmark decision to continue playing for another season. Well, a federal appeals panel denied the NCAA's eligibility case against Pavia playing the season under a preliminary injunction on this. All the judges agreed with the dismissal for lack of jurisdiction. It was a very quick ruling in this. And so Pavia, again, was looking to play again for another season. He won that injunction. It opened the door for a lot of players. And now there's some players looking for yet another season. We may come to the point where we're already having players because of injuries and transfers and things playing in the 8th and 9th year of college football. Will he stick around again? We will see. But this is his 6th year in college football, but only his 4th on the Division I level, and the ruling a while ago that changed the rules. Junior college years now don't count against your eligibility in Division I. And that's how Pavia is playing. It's now official, 6th year. He leads the Commodores against Alabama, and he is a gamer. Should be a fantastic game. We talked yesterday about the WNBA referee rift, right, in terms of Napheesa Collier and her very pointed comments at the league, and specifically calling out the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert of the WNBA, and some of her comments that have really brought a lot of things to the surface right now. Well, her former coach, UConn's great legendary championship-winning coach, Geno Auriemma, discussed the situation as well earlier this week, and here are his thoughts on that topic.
I've been pretty consistent in my in my observations of both college basketball and where the positives are and where the negatives are. And I've had a lot of NBA people, and a lot of former WNBA players tell me that that what goes on in the WNBA game is way more physical than what happens in an NBA game. Now, you go to NBA games in the playoffs. Well, that's maybe a different story, but I think on a daily basis, I think the WNBA game is not conducive to like great basketball. Okay, I mean, you can spin it any way you want. Well, there's more viewers, there's more that. That's great. That doesn't mean it's a better game just because more people are watching, supposedly. Right? You watched last year's final game between the Liberty and the Lynx. It was a horrendous game. But any way you want to spin it, it was a horrendous game. Two of the two best teams in the league. And what score was 20-20 at halftime or some crazy. People can't get open. People can't cut. The ball handler's getting, whacked every time they move. Listen, you always expect your best player or you always expect your best player to have a rough time. I've been through that, and I've complained about it a lot. I just think that the way the game, and I don't blame the officials. Everybody says, these officials are bad. Those officials are good. If we had those officials, it'd be a better game. I don't think it's the people actually officiating the games. I think it's what's either in the rule book or what's accepted as this is the style of play that we want. Because if they didn't want that style of play, they wouldn't have it. So you can't just say, well, it's the officials' fault.
And that was UConn coach Geno Auriemma. Producer Tony, now joining, want to get your comments on this. We talked yesterday about this. Again, this is a real problem. And you and I have been talking here in our conversations, our texting the past couple of days. We're a little bit amazed at the traction this has gotten from everyone. Neko Gwomake of the Seattle Storm, who is the WNBPA president. She's president of the Players Association. She said, quote, "Fee speaks for me." They're unified by what Napheesa said. And it feels like there are people key players in this, not just players, but also people involved who saw this coming and knew she was going to say this, and they're ready to back her up.
Yeah. I mean, I think, she made the right statements. What she's saying is not wrong. She's very correct. They need and want leadership from above that looks out for the players as well as the teams. It's got to be a give and take streak. And what I loved about what Geno had to say was just talking about the physicality of the game. And he didn't put all the blame on the officials because it's not all on the officials. It's part of what the league itself will condone and allow. And if the officials are told, look, I've officiated for 25 years. We get directives all the time from our state associations here in Georgia. This is how we want things called. We want point of emphasis is this. So stop letting them do this or that or whatever it might be. And I'm sure the same thing happens along the lines in the WNBA. Basketball, Larry, is meant to be a beautiful game, right? It's all about movement and artistry and cutting and, being able to get to the basket and drive and seeing what you can do with the ball in your hands. A lot of that gets left out when the game becomes too physical. And there are portions of some WNBA games that are just unwatchable because it becomes like a wrestling match. I don't put on a basketball to see wrestling. If I want to watch wrestling, I'll watch the WWE. Or I'll take, watch some old football tapes of guys, in the 70s when they ran the ball 50 times a game. If I want to see real wrestling, I want to see the artistry of basketball. I want to see Showtime of the 80s. I want to see the Knicks and Lakers of the 70s, the Celtics from the late 60s and early 70s. That's basketball. The rest of this, and there's so many great players in the WNBA, and their artistry and their creativity is being stifled by having this physicality being allowed in their sport.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one that, look, there are a lot of things that need to work on in this offseason because, like you said, now you're no longer a league on the periphery. With the money you're making, the eyeballs you're getting, you've reached the level of being one of the leagues. I mean, obviously, there are the big four, of course. There are a lot of soccer fans, but women's sports is at a pinnacle and it's on the rise. And like we said before, if you don't clean these things up, there are these other entities out there like Unrivaled that's coming in with a lot of money, well-funded. They clearly have a very good business plan. And again, I'm going to say again, I hope it doesn't happen. I think what the W has done, what the NBA has done with women's basketball in the past 3 decades is fantastic. It's deserved. And that's beginning to pay off the investments that a lot of people have made over this time, the past 30 years. But yeah, you got to get these things figured out, or else we could see some changes in all this. Because again, like we said, Unrivaled, they have a TV deal as well with a major player. And, unlike some channels, everyone knows where the Turner sports channels are. TNT, TBS, True TV, etc. Thanks to college basketball. Okay, a little college football. Coming up next, we'll talk Florida State, Miami with Peter Holland of the Tallahassee Democrat. That's next on the Sports IQ.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it. We specialize in helping the self-employed and people just like you that need affordable health insurance to get it. We have short and long-term health insurance plans, and some even cover dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Don't take a risk with your family's health insurance. It's not worth it. If you're self-employed or now need affordable health insurance, call right now and learn for free how to get it. Listen, affordable health insurance plans for everyone just like you are a free phone call away. So give us a shout right now.
800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. That's 800-373-8414.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Let's talk a little college football right now, and a big matchup in the ACC. This was big even before both joined the ACC. Number 3, Miami, at number 18, Florida State. Miami 4-0. Seminoles 3-1 right now. Peter Holland joining us once again from the Tallahassee Democrat to talk about this one. Peter, good to see you once again. I was saying at the top of the show, the last time we talked was during week 1 prior to the Seminoles game versus Alabama. Tell us how things have changed in Tallahassee since that game.
What has changed? Well, they lost to Virginia. I mean, they're 3-1, and I think that's pretty much changed right now. They are still putting up points. They're still an aggressive physical team, and they're the number one. I think they're still the number one offense right now. But I think it was for that Friday loss. They just didn't really look like themselves. At least in the first quarter, they put themselves in a deep hole, and I don't think it has anything to do with just overlooking their opponent. It was just more of they just didn't really have it like they were supposed to, and it just led them to playing flat. And they still came back and they still went to double overtime with them. But there were some missed opportunities where they were in a position to score, but they just didn't capitalize like they were supposed to.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I mean is that really in terms of, they were coming off the 2-10 season and Alabama looked like that game, if you can steal this one. And they did. They get the win. They're back in the rankings again. And until Friday night, they were actually in the top 10. So, I mean,
right.
I think just in terms of the attitude, how are things different now where maybe they they have the chip on their shoulder, where last year that loss to Virginia is just another loss in a forgettable season. This year, it's one where it's like, wait a minute, you're asking what happened. And I think that's kind of where the change I was talking about.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I was just still thinking. I was rewatching the Virginia game. I was just looking at how they looked. I mean, but yeah, it was kind of like what I said even the last time we spoke, is that there's a lot of urgency from this team, that they are not the same 2-10 team from last year. They're a new group of guys. They're going to run the football, just like I told you, and to win a team like in Alabama, you got to win up front through the trenches, and that's what they did. So yeah, it really has built momentum for them. It was a huge win for them, for Alabama. Then they got East Texas A&M and Kent State afterwards. So of course they're going to blow them out and put up Madden numbers. So we expected that. And then I think just from that Virginia game, they still look like them. They just didn't look right afterwards. I think, especially that it was their first road game and they were in a different environment, and they knew Virginia was good, but I just don't think they were expected where they were going to play completely flat and let them give them the chance to win. So I think it was just, in a way, I don't know if you can say that they kind of got exposed. I just didn't think that we didn't really see that same urgency like we seen from the Alabama game. So I think probably playing those two low tier teams kind of hurt that in a way.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's the one thing when you open with a big opponent like that and get a win. Look, you're on top, nowhere to go but down at some point. So yeah, I mean, certainly I can see where that can happen. And the big thing too about this game now against Miami, not only against a decades old rival, this rivalry goes back forever. At home, under the lights, 7:30 Eastern on ABC, but you also don't want to fall 0-2 in the ACC. I mean, the schedule, already all of a sudden your position in the standings comes into question.
For sure. It's a must win for sure. You don't want to go 0-2. Nobody wants to go winless in the ACC. But you can also look at on Miami's side as well. This is Miami's first ACC game, and this is their first road game as well. And I can argue that we don't know what this Miami team look like on the road, and what if they get got like what Florida State did at Virginia. So, and being that it's a rivalry game and you're going to be in a capacity environment on primetime game, that you're playing in the hands of Florida State, even if they did come off with a loss. Now they got a chip on their shoulders because now they got to prove that they're still the team to beat. Compared to like Miami, they're probably feeling the same way because they didn't really look all that great against Florida. Some will even tell you that because Florida's a bad team, but they were in it until that very end. But still, like, it is more of a measuring stick of where we stand as far as with the ACC standings, with which one is an actual contender. And so it's a possibility that we think that Miami has a chance of beating Florida State, but again, we still don't know about this team, if they are a dominant team or they're the highly favorites to come out of the ACC and be a playoff team.
Yeah, no question. Talking with Peter Holland of the Tallahassee Democrat. Florida State going to take on Miami here this weekend in a top 25 ACC battle. And to your point that, this is a big, like you said, a litmus test. It was the Alabama game an outlier, or is that really who this team is this year? Like you said, I mean, Miami right now, third in the country, and they're undefeated so far. Virginia has improved. Georgia Tech has improved. Clemson has struggled, but they're still Clemson. Here's a chance to really kind of show who you are. I want to talk about the quarterback now, Tommy Castellano. You talked about, again, before the season coming over and the transfer. How was his performance would you evaluate here in the first 4 games of the season?
He's a difference maker. That pretty much will tell you who he is as a quarterback, who he is as a teammate, how he is as an individual. He's always been that confident guy. They all feed on his confidence. He said from day one, we can beat Alabama. Nick Saban ain't gonna save this team. He said it from the beginning, and he always had that confidence in him. You definitely see from a football standpoint that he is definitely tough to. He's really very elusive. He's very tough to defend. An outstanding runner. He's probably faster than he's ever been. He didn't really had a good passing performance. He threw 2 picks in the first half that really hurt them. But he was still good enough to keep them in games. He was still good enough to put on a better performance and lead the team in overtime, double overtime to be exact. But as far as from an all-around performance, Tommy proved that he is the difference maker, and he just proved that he could be the sole reason. Well, he could be one of the reason, if not the biggest reason, why Florida State could be a contending team.
Yeah, giving up 45 points in that game. You mentioned again a double overtime, and the early turnovers hurt them. They were in a hole and playing catch up all the way. Is there any concern right now with the defense after coming up strong in the opener against Alabama? Again, some weaknesses last week and some things happened. Any concern right now defensively and their approach against the Hurricanes?
There's a couple concerns. For one, that they got to tackle better. That pretty much played a part of why they lost to Virginia was they not finishing tackles. They couldn't stop the run. Virginia was running all circles on them, especially that running back. Jamari Taylor is his name, a North Carolina Central transfer, a former walk-on, just barely 200 pounds, and you let a guy just run over you like that. I'm also concerned about the defensive line. There was high expectation with the defensive line that they were going to be physical. They're going to get to the quarterback, provide the pressure, and I just feel like they're just underachieving. And granted, they rotate type of guys. The most reliable guy is Daryl Jackson Jr., who's supposed to be an NFL prospect, but he's getting double team, triple team all the time. They got James Williams, who came from Nebraska, who knows the system. He really hasn't really played up to his potential in a way. And you got freshmen. You got twins who are freshmen are playing right away. So they're still trying to continue to slow the game down for them. But with that being said, that you got to make plays. You got to get sacks, and they are not giving it. Your leading sack is a safety. So that's not really telling you much about defensive line. They're trying to bring pressure. They're trying to come up with different fronts just to get to the quarterback, but we have not seen it consistently so far. I mean, I get that pressures do matter. Sacks isn't everything, but sacks get you paid. Sacks get you to the league, and we have not seen that from Florida State consistently, at least not right now. So that's my concern. You're going against Miami team that probably have the best offensive line in the country. And if you're not going to get to Carson Beck, then you're what you saying halfway through of losing to Miami right there. Yeah. That's half the battle.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. If you're not getting pressure that front seven or the front four right there, it's going to be a long afternoon there at Doak Campbell, a long evening, I should say, at Doak Campbell. You mentioned Miami and Carson Beck. Watching him as we have here this evening, we watched him his whole career in Georgia and now with Miami. What do you feel like he has brought to this Miami team after losing a Heisman Trophy candidate in Cam Ward? What do you think the special talents he's brought into this Miami team?
I think it's his poise. I think it's just because he's played in this stage before. He is all his time in Georgia. He was part of that national championship team. If I remember correctly, or at least been in these playoff atmospheres, played in the SEC. He knows how the expectation was high the moment he stepped foot in Miami. So with Carson Beck, you know that he's going to give you the football as long as you surround him with talent, that he's going to thrive. I think that was probably why it didn't really work out the way that you would hope. Because as far as talented Georgia is, that you're not getting the receivers that you're getting from Miami right now. You're not getting with the offensive line that they provided for him, like in Georgia. Having the running game, and then just at least on the flip side, having the defense that's going to perform for you as well. So being part of a complete team like Miami has put together, and all you need is Carson Beck to just be him and just just be that facilitator. You don't have to do too much, but we don't expect you to do too little either. And I think that's just probably the case with Carson Beck, and I think that's what's working for them.
Yeah, there is a poise of having a fifth-year guy back there who, again, came out of high school as a top 5-star prospect, and he has shown that now in the work he's done at Georgia and now at Miami. I can't help but look at the schedule here for Florida State, and I know big game this week in Miami. You can't look past that. You got to take one game at a time. But boy,
we're reporters. We're the media. We can get away with that. I mean, that's the problem with that. So. It's the players and the coaches that can't look ahead. We can get away with that. Fans can get away with that. We're not the one on the field. So,
there you go.
But
fair enough.
To cut you off. Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
You're picking up what I'm putting down, man. Exactly. But you look at the schedule, and this is a doable schedule. Clemson always is dangerous, even though they've struggled. But this is you look through this right now. Florida's down this year. This schedule is one where there are a lot of wins are in the schedule, and regardless of Saturday, Florida State very much could be in the conversation for a playoff berth here come late November.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's also probably why that this Miami game is important for them, because if you beat them, you're coasting. I mean, all you got to do is just not lose for the remainder of the season, and you're in. So that's just pretty much because you already got 2 quality wins under your belt. You're probably going to be somewhere maybe in – I don't know where you want to be seeding wise, but you're going to at least be somewhere in the top 10, or if not top 5, just because of your 2 ranked wins alone. And you're going to get moved up in the rankings no matter what. So, but even if you do lose to Miami, it just have to look good. That's just what it is. Style points does matter. If you get blown out by Miami, all bets are off. But if you're just in the game, because that's why even losing to Virginia is not the end of the world, because you still have the opportunity right in front of you. Yeah. If they can just keep it convincing all the way through the 4th quarter, then you're going to be fine. Just win all out, go 10-2. You may still have a chance of being in the ACC championship, depending on how things goes in the ACC. It's still wide open. So all you got to do is just take care of business, and they're going to be fine. I mean, it's still ACC is up for grabs. You've seen how the ACC is looking right now. So the future is still your future. Your opportunity is still right in front of you. But obviously, it all going to start how you look against Miami.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, I want to get one quick question before we let you go. We were talking earlier in the show about the sources now telling ESPN that the Big Ten is considering a $2 billion private equity deal. There has been some rumblings in the past about Florida State considering that to try to maybe possibly, buy out their grant of rights with the ACC, ESPN to get out of the conference and go maybe to the Big Ten SEC. Has there been any conversation about that lately that you've heard down there in Tallahassee? About private equity coming in and buying into the program?
Not that I'm aware of. I think after they settled, I think it just kind of died down in a way. I think they're really happy with where they are with the ACC. It was just a sum of the media rights thing. I don't think they never really had intent of wanting to leave the ACC. They just want to make sure that they get their own fair share of with the equity. Yeah. So I just don't think that there was really an intent of having to go to another conference, especially if it's not the SEC. But I just think right now that I don't expect. I think they're just going to. I don't expect anything other than just keep playing through their contract, and they'll just cross that bridge until they get there.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It came up, and we discussed that there has been some conversations previously, but again, like you said, they reworked the deal, getting a little more money on their side as well, the premier, brands in the ACC, and so we move forward. Hey, Peter, we know you're out of time. Listen, we know you're super busy. Appreciate you taking time to spend with us. Huge game this weekend as always. Enjoy, and we'll be watching, and we'll be calling on you soon.
Sure thing. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much. Once again, Peter Holland with the Tallahassee Democrat joining us, covering FSU sports. Big game this weekend. Florida State hosting Miami, 7:30 Eastern Time, Saturday night. That's on ABC. We've got more to come. It's a SportsIQ. Keep it here. Hey, welcome back. By the way, we haven't forgotten WNBA Finals beginning tomorrow night in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Aces, long shots when the season began, they're now in the finals and in position to win their third WNBA title in 4 years. They won in 22-23 and came up short last year, did not reach the finals. But again, they're taking on Phoenix. The first time ever, it's a best-of-7 series, and so we love that. ESPN will have the coverage there. And Asia Wilson, the MVP, the only 4-time MVP in league history, leading the Aces against Phoenix. What a season under Coach Nate Tibbetts to completely rework this team, losing the GOAT, Diana Taurasi, to retirement, losing Brittany Griner, who signed the 1-year deal with Atlanta, and they bring in, again, Satu Sabali, who's an all-star from Dallas. They bring in Alyssa Thomas, an MVP candidate every year from Connecticut, bring her in with Ka Copper, and all of a sudden they had a really sweet team there. It's been a fun season to watch there in Phoenix. The team that Las Vegas beat the other night was Indiana, a Fever team ravaged with injuries throughout the season. An all-star guard and MVP finalist, Kelsey Mitchell, had a really bizarre situation in the third quarter where all of a sudden she went down with a strange leg injury. Well, she posted on social media yesterday and explained it. I'm going to try to pronounce this. She said the condition she has is called rhabdomyolysis, and it left her unable to move her legs. If you're on Twitter, on X, go to Rebecca Lobo. She posted a video of this. I'm sure it's elsewhere too, but this is the one that I saw. There's some baseline video from the baseline showing Mitchell kind of all of a sudden just stop moving in the third quarter during a moment. It was a dead ball moment. The referee walks by, she reaches out to him, and in a very human moment, he helps her to the ground. As she says, she just was unable to move her legs. Her legs just wouldn't function properly. She left the game, didn't come back. The Fever were able to force overtime without her. She's been a driving force since Caitlin Clark missed most of the season with injury, the MVP candidate in her own right. But anyway, Mitchell explaining later, was taken out on a stretcher, was taken to the hospital where she was treated, and said it was just one of those things. She panicked because she thought it was something even worse than that, but she's recovering. She thanked the trainers and doctors there at the arena and at the hospital as well. 29-year-old former Ohio State star. We're happy that they've got it figured out. We look forward to her coming back next year. She is just a fantastic player. Major League Baseball, again, the playoffs continue today with 3 more series, and we will know all the participants in the NLDS once we get through today. Producer Tony, we're talking about the bullpens. We know that pitching means everything in October, and we've seen that already here in the first couple of games.
Absolutely. And, some of these bullpens have just been outstanding. When you look at what the Padres did yesterday, they were just phenomenal. I think Mason Miller has got like 7 or 8 strikeouts so far in the postseason. All except one or maybe all of his outs have been strikeouts so far. So he's having a phenomenal start to the postseason. The only regret I have, Larry, is I used to love seeing starting pitchers take that ball and just want to dominate. You remember back in the early 90s, the Minnesota-Atlanta series, when Jack Morris took the ball, 11 innings in that game and pitched it all the way through and helped Minnesota win the World Series title. I go back to when I was a kid watching Bob Gibson on a black and white TV just dominate for the Cardinals in the World Series, pitching 3 complete games in a World Series. I mean, you'll never see that again, ever. And I just think that's lost. Credit to all these bullpens, all these guys pitching in, doing their jobs. Look, the Cubs tried yesterday to run that what do they forget the term they use it, the out of rotation game, and just using a bunch of relievers. Andrew Kittredge started. He's not a starter. He's a reliever. He pitched his inning, and then you just have a series of bullpen players. It's interesting in some ways, but I think it loses something of what baseball is all about, and that's the workhorse starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, just guys like the dominant coming in going to give you 7 or 8 strong. The Randy Johnsons, the Tom Lavins, Greg Maddoxes. I think of the great duel in the final game ever at Fulton County Stadium in the '96 World Series, where I think it was Pettit who outdueled Glavine 1-0. I mean, it just was, to your point, just those great chess matches of guys. Who's got the stamina, who's got the juice, who can keep guys, the opposing players on their heels. Like you said, taking nothing away from those relievers and what they're doing, but there is a certain piece of art in October to have that dominant pitcher, that stud coming in and just can you get him out of the game? If you can't, you're not going to win the game.
Absolutely. And now you see pitchers, the Red Sox yesterday, Brian Bello had been one of their best starters down the stretch. They pulled him after 3 1/3. It's like, you can't. I mean, I think sometimes managers are so afraid of getting behind in the postseason that they panic with these starters and like, oh God, I got to go to the bullpen. But then it throws off your whole bullpen rotation for the next coming days. We'll see how that plays out tonight in Game 3 of that Yankees Red Sox series.
Exactly. Okay, our moment of awe is up next.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
Okay, time now for a moment of awe. It goes out to San Diego's Mason Miller and the big acquisition at the trade deadline for the Padres. Yesterday, Miller threw the hardest postseason pitch ever recorded, a 104.5 mile per hour fastball to strike out Carson Kelly there in the 7th inning. You talk about bringing heat. That was simply on fire. Mason Miller getting our moment of awe. We appreciate our guests coming by. Peter Holland with the Tallahassee Democrat talking Seminoles and Hurricanes ahead of Saturday's big matchup in Tallahassee. We appreciate you as well. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We'll talk, get ready for the college football weekend. Also, Megan McEwen joining us from NBC, from ION. She's going to talk WNBA as we begin that final series, Las Vegas hosting Phoenix. Hey, it's a Thursday. Make it a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at SportsIQ LS. We'll see you next time.